What is up, awesome people of the internet? I got some breaking news to share with you all. Satou Sabally is saying that she has played her last game in Dallas. She is going to be gone and is looking forward to her new team. Here is what she said in Unrivaled Media Day today.
Do you have any ideas of what you might prioritize, or do you plan to stay in Dallas next season?
Yeah, I mean, I've already communicated with Dallas how grateful I am because they've made this a home for me for the past years, and I'm working with them together and finding a next home for me because I've already played my last game in Dallas, and I'm just excited. I'm excited for free agency. Able to talk to a lot of players outside the league because I have not played on a different team yet. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to get to know them more on a personal level, but also knowing how they approach the game. And I just love having basketball conversations and high level IQ conversations about the game to know where I will fit best in the future.
Would you want to play with your sister?
Yeah, of course. In the future, I would love that.
Yeah.
So yeah, y'all heard what Satou Sabally had to say. She is looking to get her way out of Dallas, and she said she's played her last game, and she's working with the team to figure out a new place to go, and that likely means that's the case because they will be coring her. So Satou Sabally is technically an unrestricted free agent coming into 2025, but teams have what they call coring, which is basically the franchise tag for the NFL, which means that you are on a 1-year guaranteed max contract, and that's how you got to rock. So that is likely going to be Satou Sabally because she is a way too good of a player to just give up for nothing. So for sure, Dallas is going to core her, and now they're going to shop and figure out, okay, well, what can we do? What kind of packages can we get? Is it a combination of players and picks, or just picks, just players? What are you going to do? Now, if I'm Kurt Miller, and I think Kurt Miller is probably going to plan this. If I'm Kurt Miller, what I am saying is, okay, we need at least a one-to-one. Not one-to-one, but a power forward to power forward trade in terms of player to player. And then we also need some good draft picks because there's some top players in this year's draft. And if I'm Dallas, you're also trying to get away from relying so heavily on Tierra McCowan and Kalani Brown. Now, they both are on contract for another year in 2025. And so it's a question of, okay, well, are you also dealing one of them in the deal as well with Satou Sabally? Or are you saying, okay, you know what, we're going to keep them for another year, but we're looking to get another center either in trade assets for player to player or in the draft class? And so that's a question that you have to think about. Now, let's take a look at the WNBA draft order to kind of help situate ourselves. So, of course, we know Dallas has the number 1 pick. It's likely that they're getting Paige Beckers. I think it'd be silly if they don't get Paige Beckers. Absolutely, yes. Olivia Miles doing her thing. Dominique Malinga absolutely also is really good as well. But I think the number 1 pick right now is for sure going to be, Paige Beckers. And she is going to the draft. Okay, so Paige is number 1, and then the rest flows from there. Now, I actually do have a full WNBA mock draft releasing tomorrow, so I'm not going to tell you the rest of my picks. But what I wanted to look at in particular is the draft picks because it's likely that Dallas wants to figure out how to possibly get both Paige and another elite power forward / center in this draft. And you got 2 of those that's going to be in this draft. You have I would say 2 top ones, right? You have Dominique Malinga, who is the French player, and you have Kiki Iriafen, right? It's not likely LA is picking a post. Chicago's not likely to pick a post. Washington is not likely to pick a post. So, I mean, LA may pick a post, but if they're picking a post, it's going to be Kiki Iriafen. It's not going to be Dominique Malonga. So I think Dominique might end up going earliest number 5 or number 7. And so if I am the Dallas Wings, I am looking to make a trade with the Golden State Valkyries to say, hey, okay, we're doing a sign and trade with Satou Sabally. Satou Sabally goes to your part of town, part of the country, and in return, we get the number 5 draft pick. To me, I think that would be a perfect trade for Dallas. Now, for Golden State, I don't think it makes sense necessarily to make that trade. Because 1, it's just a 1-year deal. 2, we've seen Satou Sabally deal with a lot of injuries. And so it's a question mark of the Golden State Valkyries is not going to be good. You know, you look at the players that they have on their roster for next year. they're not going to be good. Let's go to their roster right now. Right? You look at this roster. This is not a win now roster, right? Stephanie Talbot, Kayla Thornton, Kate Martin, Monique Billings, Timmy Fagbinley, Veronica Burton, Julie Van Loo, Cecilia Zandalicini, Maria Condi, and Ilyana Rupert. This is not a win now roster. So if you are Golden State, I don't think it makes sense for you to trade for Satou Sabally unless you just get a guarantee that she's like, you know what? Yes, I am for sure doing. I'm sure gonna re-up my commitment to you all, and once that 1 year is over, I'm gonna re-sign for a longer term and blah blah blah. Unless you get some sort of guarantee, which is likely not gonna happen, I don't think it makes any sense for the Golden State Valkyries to trade for Satou Sabally. Now, we go down the list. Number 6 pick is the Washington Mystics. Washington Mystics don't have a use for Dominique Malonga, at least I don't think. Mainly because if you look at their roster, it's very post heavy. Very, very, very post heavy. So let's look at their roster. So we got Stephanie Dolson, Shakira Austin, Aaliyah Edwards, Sika Kone, Elena Delanon. You still got to figure out what to do with her. You still need to trade her or something. Do some sort of sign and trade with Elena Delanon. So you got to figure out something else to do. Now, is it possible that Washington, if Dominique ends up floating down to that 6 part, is it possible that Washington decides to pick her up just because? Mainly because Shakira Austin has been dealing with injuries a whole bunch. Stephanie Dolson is getting older as a player and will be out the door, in 2026 likely. Maybe you do end up grabbing her in that 6th spot. And if Dallas thinks that may be the case, then you need to trade with Washington and say, hey, sign and trade with Washington. Washington, you get Satou Sabally. But again, why would Washington do that? Because they're not in win now mode in 2025. Satou Sabally only makes sense for teams, in my opinion, that are looking to win now in 2025. Washington is not looking to do that. They don't have the roster to do that. So for Dallas's perspective, it makes sense to try to make that trade. For Washington's perspective, it makes no sense to trade either their 4th or their 6th pick for Satou Sabally. It makes no sense. Because again, it's only a 1-year deal, which pushes us back to number 7. So likely, by the 7th pick, Dominique is gone. She is gone off the board, so that 6'6" frame is gone. You don't have that anymore. Now, you got some other players that you can possibly work with in the draft. Again, you still want to figure out what your post situation looks like, but at this point, maybe you're like, actually, we just got to figure out something to do, which is why I think the 2 teams that Satou Sabally is most likely to go to is the New York Liberty and the Indiana Fever, because they have the 7th pick and the 8th pick in the 2025 WNBA draft. And that's what Dallas needs. Dallas needs picks because you need to prepare for the future, not look to get somebody for 1 year because you're not going to do anything. You're going to lose. Like, you're not likely even going to make the playoffs. Maybe you make the playoffs, but not likely. So if they try to do this trade with New York, how would it go? So let's kind of look at the scenario right here. Let's look at their roster for the New York Liberty. And if you're Dallas, you're like, okay, let's make a deal. Let's reunite Satou Sabally with her younger sister. Let's do that. Okay, let's do that. So you're saying, you know what? New York, we will trade Satou Sabally on a core contract to you for the 7th pick in the draft. And as a return, we want the reserve rights to Doikage. Because Doikage doesn't play very often, but she is a guard that can slot in every now and then. And then in free agency, if I'm Dallas, I'm then looking to pick up a Courtney Vandersloot. Courtney Vandersloot's not going to get court. She's going to be an unrestricted free agent. She's going to have her pickings of where she wants to go. She's an aging point guard. There's not too many slots for her left in the WNBA, in my opinion. Maybe she comes back to Chicago. That is a possibility, but I don't see a ton of teams really checking to get a Courtney Vandersloot. So possibly Dallas ends up picking up Courtney Vandersloot just in the free agency market where you don't have to pay anything for her in terms of team-wise. You can just pick her up. So I'm looking at possibly the rights to Doikage because Doikage has potential. I don't think it's likely that we see the New York Liberty trade away Leonie Fibich. Fibich is way too valuable for New York. She's not going anywhere. If I'm Dallas, I'm asking for her. But if I'm New York, I'm not giving her. So the scenario, in my opinion, for New York and Dallas traded for Satou is Dallas cores Satou Sabally, sends her packing to New York in return for the number 7 pick in the draft and the rights to Ivana Dojkic. That's my recommendation. Now, you all might say that's not enough for Satou Sabally. And sure, if you could try to get a second round pick in the 2026 draft tacked onto that, sure, absolutely do it. But I don't think you get much in terms of multiple first round picks for a 1-year deal on Satou Sabally. I don't think the market is that high, especially because Satou has said she played her last game. So if you're other teams, you're looking like, okay, well, maybe New York gives up that 7th pick in the draft for Satou Sabally. Give up Dojkic. She's probably not even going to make the roster anyway next year for the New York Liberty. So, I think that may be a good trade. I would say that's a good trade. Now, if that doesn't work out, if you can't figure out a way to get to claw that 7th pick from New York's hand, if they're like, you know what, we don't want to get rid of this pick. This pick is going to be a really good pick. There's some good players in the draft. We want them. If they say that, okay, well, next up, Dallas is looking to do a deal with Indiana. And we will see Satou Sabally in an Indiana Fever jersey, which I've seen tons of stuff around Satou Sabally going to the Indiana Fever before she actually made the official announcement that she is not returning to Dallas. So, I've seen a lot of stuff about it. So, I'm sure a lot of y'all will probably be happy if Satou ends up going to the Indiana Fever. So, if I am the Indiana Fever, I would give up my number 8th pick for Satou Sabally, and in return, I would also, let's actually just take a look at the Indiana Fever's roster right quick. I will also give up Nalissa now. Some of y'all may be like, what? That is too much to give up for Satou Sabally. But here's the deal. I think the Indiana Fever is in win now mode for 2025. And because of that, you're going to run the risk of giving up a Nalissa Smith for someone who has been injured, but when healthy is spot on one of the best players in the WNBA. I think you do that. I think you do that trade, and you have Caitlin, Satou, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston leading this team. To me, yes, that's a team that can make noise, not just get to the playoffs, make noise in the playoffs, possibly, if they get lucky enough, make it to the finals. This is a good starting lineup. Now, all you need to do is cut some players. Cut Victoria Saxon. Likely cut Grace Berger because you're not going to play her. And then try to get some other free agents that can slot in that could be a really good role players off the bench. You do that, and yeah, you absolutely do have a team that is contending for a title in 2025. So yes, if I am the Indiana Fever, if the Dallas Wings want my number 8th pick and they want Nalissa Smith, I'm giving up both of them for Satou Sabally. Yes, because they are in win now mode. And Nalissa Smith, she is going to be a free agent in 2026 anyway, though restricted free agent. And there's already a whole bunch of stuff with Fever fans and Nalissa Smith, and so I just say yes, get rid of all that. If Dallas wants her, give her to Dallas. She'd be good on Dallas. I think her. I think it'd be pretty interesting to watch Nalissa Smith play for Dallas. And you get Satou Sabally, the unicorn, in return. So that's my prediction. Satou Sabally is either going to the New York Liberty or she's going to the Indiana Fever. Those are the only two teams, in my opinion, that have what Dallas wants and are also in a sort of win now mode, because that's the only teams that really will bring in somebody on a 1-year deal that are willing to give up a first round draft pick. But what do y'all think in the comments? Let me know. And I appreciate you listening to this video. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if y'all enjoy more of women's basketball. What do y'all think? Let me know in the chat. Am I bugging? Are y'all like, oh, actually, Quita right on this? I actually could see her playing with the New York Liberty and blah, blah, blah. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat. Also, if Satou does go to the Indiana Fever, she's going to be a power forward. If she goes to the New York Liberty, I could absolutely see her slotting into that small forward role. So that's my thoughts there. Anyway, Thank y'all for watching. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Till next time, guys. Bye-bye.